Good evening. Good evening. It's that time again. Welcome to another edition of Folks Talking Sports, sponsored by the Saxenian family. And right now it's me. I'm your host, one of the hosts, Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me are the two youngsters, the future of the program going forward eventually. James Mueller from the Daily Cougar, who is right now at Fertitta Center, getting ready for the 8 p.m. tip-off between the Houston Cougars men's basketball team and the UCF Knights. I'll be there eventually. And also Yanez from Paul Sama Jama, Community Impact newspaper. He's becoming a Jamaican with all his jobs and hats. But,
I'm doing good. How are you, Kris?
Doing great. James, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
All right, let's just get right to it.
Your background noise.
That's all right. This is live.
I said I miss it.
Oh yeah, you miss it. Yeah.
A little bit.
This is gonna be fun though. Let's get right into it. James is there. The game's gonna be on ESPN2. Houston Cougars are trying to snap a 2-game losing streak, coming off a road loss at SMU and a home loss at Memphis. First time they've lost 2 straight games since January 2017. That's 5 years, which is beyond impressive. And Coach Sam said that's movie type stuff, and it really is to go that long. But what are your thoughts on it? Tonight's game. Andy, you first.
Yeah, like you, I guess this is kind of a chance to do some cross promotion in terms of you joining us, or you joining me as a special guest co-host for Part-Time Jam. Like you mentioned, head coach Calvin Sampson talked a little bit about kind of how different UCF are in terms of the style that they're going to be playing. Said that it'll be likely that they see a lot more of a 4-guard lineup against U of H, which is interesting. Like we mentioned, when I hear that, it makes me think the UCF wants to get up and down the court. They want to pick up the tempo. They want to push the pace, which also would not surprise me if UCF goes to what Memphis did early on and literally press U of H from the start to try to get them to control the tempo of the game and just try to make UH make a lot of those unforced turnovers that they had, those unforced errors that they had against Memphis, where they literally for 7 minutes, 7 turnovers. That's not a recipe for success. And really, it's going to come down. I'm going to be interested to see which team can impose their will in the game because, like we mentioned, that Houston wants to slow it down. They want to feed it down low to Fabian White, Josh Carlton. They want to run the offense through them and have Jamal Shed and Kyler Edwards, maybe someone else, have them set up their bigs. So it's going to be a little bit of style clash. So I'm going to be interested to see who can win that, who can impose their will on the game.
And to get James' thoughts in just a second, but Willie Gibson, the other member of the now foursome, has joined us. So, Mr. Gibson, how are you, sir?
I'm well, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing well. And he's in Ohio, and he'll be these next few days for him will be NBA filled because he'll be at the All-Star festivities and all those great things. So, man, you may have to do a show from somewhere around there, man. Let's see how to make that work because it'll be too loud and noisy. We'll figure something out for that. But James, if it's not too noisy there, what are your thoughts on Houston's 2-game losing streak and what they need to do, in your opinion, to snap the streak and start a new streak tonight against UCF?
Yeah, I mean, I figured the losing streak, I didn't necessarily anticipate them losing both games last week, but I figured that, like I texted you before that's a new game, I thought they'd lose that one at least. We knew it was going to happen at some point. Just without Marcus Sasser, Tremont Mark, there was at some point they were going to fold. But I think tonight's we'll see them bounce back. I don't see them losing 3 in a row. I think they'll come out, send a message early, and win by double digits.
And Will, I'm gonna toss this to you. I had a chance to speak with ESPN's Mark Adams. I'm gonna get everybody, the panel's thoughts on it. Mark Adams spoke with him about the conference, the American Athletic Conference, and specifically U of H, Memphis, Temple, Tulane, and SMU. But one of the things that we talked about was how he thought Coach Sampson could control the tempo and not allow teams to play fast because with lack of really guards, lack of guard depth, it's important for U of H to control the tempo. Coach Sam's trying to figure out a way for his guys to have fresh legs in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the ball game. because that really hurt them in both games against SMU and Memphis. And Will, you first on this. One of the things that Mark said is use your timeouts early. Sometimes, not just wait for the media timeout. But he also said if you have to, play a big lineup, 4 bigs, because they're deep up front. And if that means have one of the bigs as the second guard, just be a huge lineup, so be it for a minute or two. But also, if that means playing a walk-on for a minute or two early in the game, to do so. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Utilize your team. Your depth has been adversely affected by injury. And so, the walk-ons have been in practice every day. I take it. They've been in film session. They've been in team meeting. If they're prepared, now I'm not saying play a walk-on for the sake of playing a walk-on, but if they're prepared to play, yeah, for a spot duty here, a minute or two there to give as he said, keep your legs fresh. Or as you said, keep your legs fresh. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that at all.
Andy, what are your thoughts on that? Could you see, Andy and James, could you see, I don't think Kelvin's going to do it, but do you think he should consider playing Ryan Elvin a minute or two in the first half? Playing Robbie Armbruster a minute or two in the first half? Just to give Kyler Edwards a minute rest, Taze Morris, just some rest early in the game. What do you think? Thoughts on that?
I'll go first. I think it's certainly an interesting decision that you threw out there. I think early on, really, with Kyler Edwards and Taze Moore would really be the only two that I feel like could benefit from it. A minute there, you have to be strategic about it. And again, it goes back to it depends on how the game goes. If UH can control the tempo, slow it down, then all for it. If they're controlling the tempo, what is it? It's a 30-second shot clock. That's what, 2 possessions if you can control the style of the game. Yeah, I'd say go for it. Now, if UCF is pressing, they're forcing the U of H to have to run up and down the court, play a fast up-tempo style, and you can't really do it, which is it's kind of hard because that's going to make the main guys get tired quicker. So you that's really when they need to have sub-outs. But if UCF is controlling the tempo, I don't think you can, just because, well, one, really, you need kind of help for Jamal Shead and get him some rest. Ryan Elvin can't run the offense for Houston. Robbie Armbruster can't run the offense for Houston. I could see it for Kyler Edwards and Taze Moore, but at the same time, it's a bit of a risk, especially if UCF especially if it's much more of an up-tempo type of game, because the ball gets into the hands of Ryan Elvin, gets into the hand of Robbie Armbruster. You're probably already going to have Ramon Walker out there too. You get to the point where you don't want too many of those inexperienced and players that aren't used to playing those bulk of the minutes, even if it is for spotty stretches.
James, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think it's hard for any one guy, no matter, how athletic, how in shape they are, to play, 38 to 40 minutes a night, which is what Kyler Edwards has been doing a lot. Jamal has played a lot like that. If I was Kelvin Sampson, I would look for areas close to media timeout. So, if there's a foul 20 seconds before a media timeout, maybe throw Robbie Armbruster in there and take Kyler Edwards out. So you're giving him those however long it takes to get to the media timeout plus the media timeout. So you're giving him just a little bit of an extra breather. That's areas where I would look to, just give him a little extra rest. But yeah, I agree with what Mark said with you that, they should be creative in trying to find little ways to do that, because you want your best players, rested when it comes to March. And so to find any way to get them a little bit of rest throughout the regular season is a good idea.
I agree with everything y'all have said. There's ways to do it, I think. And clearly you need to give Jamal Shead some rest. Got to rotate him in. If Robbie comes in, if Ramon will be the first sub. Ramon will come in for Taze Moore. Okay. Then Taze gets his rest. Taze come in for Jamal. And then if you want to toss in Robbie Armbruster for Kyler, or Jamal comes in for Kyler Edwards, rotate it in. It's got to be a way to do it. Okay. Robbie Armbrester he was a Draymond Green type player in high school. So he's learning and still learning how to be a guard. So he's not great at decision making, none of that stuff. I would not ask him to lead the offense, run the offense, none of that. I would ask him to just, Robbie, play defense. Don't get in the way. If you get rebound, get it. But Jamal, you run the offense. Tajay, you run the offense. Whoever is the guard, the lead guard, you control the offense. The ball's in your hands. Robert, you just play defense, and that's all I need you to do. Just give me a minute of defense, and that's it. Okay? If you get a foul, I don't care. If you get a foul, let's play good defense. Give your teammates a rest. We'll rotate it out. And if you can do it for a minute or two early in the second half, do so. If it means Jawan Roberts at the 3 and Fabian at the 2 for a minute with Reggie Chaney and Josh Carlton, or J.B. Francis, give him a minute to spell Josh Carlton, whatever, to spread it out. Clearly, Kelvin Sampson's a Hall of Fame coach. He knows more than all of us will ever, he'll forget more than we'll ever know. But there's got to be a way to figure out some type of way to manage the minutes better so the guys are fresher down the stretch in the closing moments, because they can't play fast for a whole game. Teams want them to do that. SMU was good with, okay, we got U of H playing our pace. Great. But they can't do it for 40 minutes. So when they start slowing down, let's get tired, then we got it. So they got to control the tempo. They got to control the pace. That goes for everybody. U of H faces now from here on out. Rest of the conference play. Wichita State Sunday is going to be a tough matchup because of pace, because of guards. So we'll see how it all starts tonight. Let's just get right to it, because we're going to try to squeeze everything in to be done by 7. I think the spread, Andy, I think I saw was like 14. U of H minus 14, something like that. I think I saw on the ticker today or something. And I was kind of surprised how large it was. But if it's 14, I take UCF. I think Houston will win, maybe by 9 or 10. Getting above that, I don't know about all that. But we'll see. I mean, because one thing we got to take into account, UCF has revenge on their mind because Houston beat them in the previous matchup this season. So that's some pride will kick in. So it's going to be a tough matchup there. And tidbit, Will, did you know that UCF was the first team to beat Houston inside Fertitta Center?
I did not.
The first L handed to U of H men's hoops was courtesy of UCF. Nationally televised game. I want to say it was ESPN and Game Day were here. It was hype. Saturday, winning streak was on the line, all this kind of stuff. And UCF won by 5. Packed house. Just filled to the rafters, everything. But
was Taco there, or was that?
I think Taco was there. Yeah, Taco was there, part of that team, and I think Aubrey Dawkins was there. That might have been the team that almost beat Duke, I think, in the tournament. So, but
Houston is favored by 13.5. The over under is actually interesting too. The over under is at 136.5.
136.5 divided by 2. So that's less. That's about 70, 66 around there. If it gets above 80, U of H probably won't win. And that was a problem they had against SMU. SMU, prior to Memphis, 2 out of 3 of Houston's losses, they gave up. Alabama was 83. And SU scored in the 80s. So defense, tempo is key. So they got to control tempo, slow things down. And if it's ugly, so what? Their defense is still legit. I think it's still, percentage-wise, one of the tops in the country, just not the last two games. So, James, if you can hear us, and the music's died down a little bit, we're going to shift gears. Well, you're going to love this. Andy, I hope you saw it too, because I won't say that. Well, I was going to say. Football schedule was announced today. Will, let me see if I can pull it up here, Will.
Okay.
Check this titanically tough schedule. Just going to run through it. Full of awesome matchups from the beginning to the end. Just top 25 matchups all over the place, Will. All over the place.
Two Big 12 opponents.
All over the place, Will. I mean, it's the toughest schedule ever made. Ever made. First, September 3rd at UTSA.
Good.
September 10th at Texas Tech. September 17th, home for Kansas. So that's your two Big 12, Texas Tech and Kansas. September 24th, home for Rice. 4 non-conference powerhouses there, Will. Powerhouses.
Yeah.
All right, next, September 29th or 30th, home versus Tulane. October 7th at Memphis. October 22nd, is this right? At 22nd, that means they got 2 weeks off. 22nd at Navy. October 29th, home versus USF. November 5th at SMU. November 12th, home for Temple. November 19th at East Carolina. And then either November 25th or 26th, home versus Tulsa. And then the American Football Conference Championship, Saturday, December 3rd. Will, what team is missing from that schedule?
Cincinnati.
Andy, what team was missing from this year's schedule?
In addition to Cincinnati, they're also missing UCF.
Yes. So 2 of the toughest teams in the other division of the American, once again, don't play Houston. Why not? What is this? Is this Michael Oresco, as Andy likes to call him now, Commissioner Michael Oresco? What's up with this? This schedule is soft. Okay, yes, Tech and Kansas are Big 12 teams, yes. Kansas football is, please. Okay. Once again, this schedule is designed to go, James.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I told one of my friends there's no reason they shouldn't go 12-0, honestly. You look at they're avoiding Cincinnati and UCF, and then the non-conference schedule is about as easy as last year. You're replacing Grambling with Kansas, but that's not much of an upgrade. And then UTSA, I mean, they had a good year last year, but I mean, you have better athletes. You should beat them handily.
But James, you're counting them winning in Lubbock?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
That's going to be, I think that's certainly going to be the toughest, or it should be the toughest non-conference game on the schedule. And they couldn't beat it at a neutral site.
Right, it should be. But Will.
Yes, sir.
Give me a prediction. Will you go as far as Mr. Mueller and go 12-0 undefeated?
No, I won't. Because injuries, something will happen. Don't sleep on Kansas. Lance Leopold is doing some things down there. I'm just saying.
He's turned the program around, yes. But it's a home game. And next comment about this schedule. Of the home opponents, any of these home opponents think you'll get 20,000 people to come see them?
20?
Yeah, 20,000.
I think they'll get 20. No more than 26 to 28, though.
Yeah, I think they'll cap off at what they have the last few seasons, which is like James said, at that 25, 26, 27K mark. I think 20 might be setting the bar a little low, but
and look at Will shake his head. Okay, 20.
Oh,
okay,
Will,
20
I know
to
Will hates it.
20 to 28,000. 20 to 28,000. Okay, and let me also note this.
How many? What's the capacity of the stadium?
40,000.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, so half full.
That's what
Half to not quite 3/4 full, because 28 is not quite 30. So yeah.
You
The
know,
kickoff times for the first 3 weeks of the season are typically determined by mid-June. And then after that, for games past the first 3 weeks, kickoff times will be set by the conference TV partners 12 days out, or in some cases, 6 days out. But yeah, 20 to 28,000. And back to one of my issues with UH alums. Any of these opponents on the home schedule, will people want to see them instead of UH?
no. Looking down the schedule, that Kansas, Rice, Tulane, USF, Temple, Tulsa. Those are all the home games for the season, and not a single one is marquee. I mean, the UH fans did a good job traveling to Rice this past season, so maybe that one will draw. But
We want to draw Rice
Tulane,
fans.
well, true. And the Thursday or Friday game that'll be against Tulane. I don't know. Literally, the past 2-3 seasons, each time the last 3 seasons that I've covered them, each time that they have to play Tulane, it's always on a Thursday it's always on a short week, which is interesting. Maybe it was a full weekend to be able to lure in more fans. But yeah, these home games aren't any marquee draws.
And I think that's a problem. It's a concern when you're trying to increase revenue going into the Big 12. These home games, yawn. That Kansas home game will. at least it's a Saturday, at least.
Right.
You know, as opposed to Thursday or Friday, because if that were a Thursday, Friday game against Kansas, we might be the crowd. I mean, you know, so I just don't know what can be done to drum up interest for the football team. If they, with that schedule, and what they have coming back, returning, 8-4 is a failure.
I know what to drum up interest. Play Texas.
Oh, it sure would drum up
Texas
interest.
is not going to come.
Yeah, they're not going to come. But you know what would also drum up interest instead of playing Rice? Play Jackson State.
Ooh. No chance UH would schedule that.
Oh, no doubt, no chance.
I mean,
you'd have more interest nationally. You'd have more interest from more people buy tickets. You know, I mean, Rice football, and it's shade on Rice football. You know, it's not great football. It's not big time football. They go in cycles. Yes, Jackson State is what is it? FCS, whatever. But you'd have a bigger crowd. I feel certain of that. U of H would still win, but you'd have a bigger crowd.
Would they?
That's the thing. That's I don't know.
It'd probably be close in the first half, especially the first quarter, because Shedeur Sanders, at quarterback, you know, he ain't too shabby, and Dion is building up the offensive line at Jackson State. But we'd have to look at who has more top 300 players, top 300 signees. Is it Jackson State or is it U of H? That's a question to find out. Really, I'm kind of curious. But it's not going to happen. They're not going to schedule, you know, the Bayou bucket, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. No one cares.
What they should try to do, what they almost got to do on the COVID year, is try to see if they can schedule something with Baylor, or which might not be the case after the way that ended. But why don't try to schedule one of those other interstate rivalries? I mean, they have something with Texas Tech. Maybe try to call Baylor again. I don't know if they can possibly try to figure something out.
Well,
TCU, I mean, what's that relationship like?
Yeah, it's too late in the game now. They should have thought of that previous years.
Didn't you say they had 2 weeks off, Houston? What's October 22nd looking like?
They got Navy.
Oh,
where's the window?
Yeah, they play Memphis on October 7th.
October 7th.
They have their bye.
So yeah, then they have a week off. Just 1 week off. The Memphis game is on a Friday, so that's why it looked different. But yeah.
Okay.
So the October 15th, they're off.
Maybe Jackson State is at Bethune-Cookman. Maybe that can be moved. I'm. Don't listen to me. I'm just looking at the schedule. I'm looking at Jackson State's schedule. Like, okay.
But yeah, as D Skills H-Town says, that home game against Temple, Saturday, November 12th, probably gonna be cold, chilly. Ain't nobody care about playing Temple.
What's cold and chilly, man?
You know, well, to hear, we come up with any reason. If it's too hot, the way the stadium's built, sun's in your eyes. Well, it's too hot, too humid. I don't want to go there. I can watch it on TV. Then it gets too cold. Oh, it's too cold. You know, so we have built-in excuses for not going to football games, but
that November 26th game against Tulsa will probably be empty too, because it's
and Tulsa is struggling football-wise. So yeah,
it'll be right in the midst of Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You know,
no one will be on
campus. Let me put it up because he's being funny. But for the unexpected crowd for USF, yeah, you know, the schedule is not designed for large crowds. Okay, Houston football fans, UH football fans are fickle. This schedule is not going to intrigue them. It's made for wins, made to get wins. So let's get right into it. Andy and I talked about it on Paul Samajama this week. Dana Holgerson's contract. James, if you can still hear us, you can talk back before it gets too deafening over there at Fertitta Center. What are your thoughts on the contract?
Well, I mean, I was not expecting an extension, but I get why they're doing it. Like, if they believe that he's the guy, then I get extending him going into the Big 12 to just sort of solidify something. I was not expecting something to be signed this offseason, but I still don't know. They still haven't released, like, the final details of like the actual financial aspect of the contract. But from what Dana said, it's a long-term deal, so I'm interested to see what that is. But it shows that, they're committed to Dana. They think he's the guy to lead them into the Big 12. So we'll see how it goes. But I was a little surprised.
And I want to say this, and I mentioned it. Well, I want to get your thoughts on this because I said it to Andy as well during Paul Majama. One of my issues, first things first, props to Dana's agent. Okay, secure that bag. He put the clause in for renegotiation. If they go into a Power 5 conference, that would kick in automatic renegotiations. Kudos to the agent for doing that. UH administration was desperate. They wanted to get a quote-unquote big-name coach, so they agreed to those terms. I want to know, why did they leak this last Saturday, the day UH basketball was playing a game?
Somebody in the athletic department wasn't paying attention.
It was UH, Memphis, two of the top two. No, sorry, SMU. Two of the top teams nationally recognized basketball teams for your conference. About to play on ABC, and y'all decide to leak football news. That could have waited till Sunday, because nothing was official, and technically, really nothing has been official except Dana's commented on it, and his comment was kind of, some folks don't like it. Well, things are different now when I was first hired. Okay. That could have waited until Sunday. So once again, that to me just says basketball, yep, y'all made the Final Four, but football's still king here, despite our coach finally having one winning season. So we're going to lock him in long term and rain on your parade. But here we go. Yes, football is going to be king, despite having stadiums filled at maybe 50 to 60%. That rubbed me the wrong way, and still does. Okay, y'all couldn't wait to do this until Sunday. So, but yeah, Dana's agent, good for Dana. I also wonder, was Luke Fickell's contract set to be ratified, I guess a better word, on the 22nd, I think, by the board?
Yep.
If Dana's contract has a clause in it that says he must be the highest paid coach in, what is it, Andy, that Michael Oresco hates? Group of 5.
The group of 5.
So
G5.
since Luke Fickell is not going to get $5 million per, does Dana's contract say, okay, I need to get $5 million in one? So I wonder. We'll find out about that. See that later on. But I'm not a Dana fan. Dana has not done a great job against teams winning records. And this schedule that is coming up for this coming season, it's not a tough schedule. It's designed for him to win games and beat teams that probably be 500 at best. And then what? Okay, let's go to the Big 12. We're ready. No, we ain't. no, we're not. No, we ain't. But, Will, just what are your thoughts on what I said about why Saturday making the announcement? Why not wait?
Yeah, I'm parsing my words because I wanted to say like two things. I stopped myself. Yeah, that's somebody wasn't paying attention. There's no. You want to be a big time program, but then you want to be big, but little got you, if that makes sense. Because you want to be a big time program, but then you go your time in the spotlight. You're at ABC Saturday afternoon window home game against Memphis, and you announce the football coach gets an extension. For what? For who? For what? Did they talk about it during the game? I don't know.
You tell me. Did they talk about it during the basketball game? Because you were watching to see the great seats, right?
I had it on. I didn't have volume on. Habit I have. I didn't watch analysts. I watched the game. I didn't have sound, so I don't know. I did watch the game though, and I didn't see the great seats. Every angle they showed was crowd. I didn't see the great seats we talked about. I was gonna ask you about that.
It was full. I think there are some empty seats higher up, but they get it. The money folks were there.
Okay.
Saturday because they probably wanted to be seen.
Okay.
So they were there. They probably won't be there tonight. Weeknight game, late start, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they won't be there for this one. But yeah, they were there Saturday. But okay, let's just go back to what D-Skills H-Town posits. You wanted ABC to talk about it during the game. So he brings up this. So they're trying to make it an event. That's why Dana did the intro. Did he do a good job of it? Was it kind of lame too? I kind of can't imagine him being great at that either. But how did he sound? Because I wasn't there. I got there late, like I always do. Because I leave, make sure my mom is good before I go to a game now. So,
I mean, he was very energetic and loud, and the crowd enjoyed it. It was definitely one of the more interesting Hughes House chants, but yeah.
And he called out Memphis. He called out the Memphis player.
Okay.
What did he say?
Well, because he saw some Memphis players basically saying F Houston in the tunnel before. And so he was like, I heard what they were saying in the tunnel. We need to go out and beat them and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay.
The smack talk from players. So what? Players they're gonna talk trash. That's part of what they do. For Dana to make a bigger deal out of it, yeah. That's not the reason why Memphis got off to the 15-4 start. UH had a slow start. It was the turnovers because I think UH had 7 turnovers and 4 points there for a while. So that was a problem. But, how about this? Is there a clause or should there be a clause in Dana's contract tied to attendance? Will, if season ticket numbers, because we talk about 20,000 to 28,000 attendance, that's not season ticket numbers. It needs to be. If UH get to a point where 20,000 they have 20,000 season tickets. That's pretty good. That means half your stadium tickets have been purchased. But should there be a clause in the contract tied to that?
I'm speaking totally out of school because I'm where I am. That's not an issue. Selling out season tickets, things like that. So should he have a clause in his contract? No, because he's supposed to. He's doing his job. He's winning.
It's not okay. It's not his job. It's the job of marketing.
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
If he wins, no, I'm saying if he wins, they will come. So we're paying you to win. We're paying you to coach young men to win. So, I mean, obviously you get a bonus if you win the conference championship. You get the bonus if you. There's a buck out there, but I'm sorry. That's
but that's legit.
Yeah. But you make the CFP. Okay, that's a bonus. Okay, you win your conference championship game. Okay, that's a bonus. But people came to the game. They're supposed to come to the game.
True. And winning, you would think, would help. Won't help at U of H. Won't help.
Yeah.
These opponents on the schedule do not help. It's not the Big 12 yet. And I'm not sure how much is going to help being in the Big 12. I'm kind of curious to see what the ticket sales will be and the attendance will be once UH gets into the Big 12. So that's because one reason I think will be because a lot of fans will want to see the opponents, the Big 12 teams, rather than just UH football.
And also you'll have like Baylor fans will travel down for the game and add an extra 5,000 seats or whatever, especially these in Texas schools.
And maybe more than because if the tickets are still available, you might have 5,000-10,000 Baylor fans, TCU fans, maybe not so many traveling from Lubbock, but the alums, the Tech alums who live here might go to the game and for a few thousand. So it's going to be interesting to see how many alums from the Texas schools, the Big 12 Texas schools, will attend the games at TDECU Stadium once UH is a member in the Big 12. Well, we're going to shift gears because I want to touch on this. Your favorite women's basketball coach, Mr. Gibson.
Hey, I saw you. I mean, I'll let you say it. I saw that. Go ahead.
Yeah, because Mr. Yanez had a great response to it. Coach Ronald Hughey. UH beat East Carolina last night, Wednesday night, at home, 67-55. It's Coach Hughey's 100th win in his coaching career at UH. Well, I think head coaching career, period.
Oh.
100 wins, Will.
And how long has he been there?
There you go. Now you go. Andy, go ahead.
He joined the University of Houston in 2014.
So this is year 8?
Yes.
Year 8.
Do the math, Will. Do the math.
Wow. So, I don't know, 12 wins a year? Roughly?
12 and a half wins
12 and a half wins per year.
Yeah.
We're celebrating that, huh?
So, and let me post this comment let me get back to Coach Hughey discussion regarding football attendance. First year Big 12 numbers will probably do well. They should do well because of the buzz and all that kind of stuff. And then after that, I think they'll go down. Yeah, I agree with that. But yes, because Andy sent me a message that Chris Pesman congratulated Coach Hughey for the accomplishment of reaching 100 wins. But as we've said right here on Folks Talking Sports, it took him 8 years to do it. James, it took him 8 years to do it. He has 100 wins, 134 losses. They're not going to the NCAA tournament this year, barring winning the conference championship, which none of us think they're going to do. But yes, let's congratulate Coach Hughey for win number 100. James, if you can hear us, Is that a big deal? Getting win number 100 in year 8?
I mean, not really to me. I mean, it's been 8 years. You should have gotten there a while ago. And the first thing that popped into my head when I saw that was, it took 8 years in the American. That probably 12 years in the Big 12 if they because the competition's a lot better. So, I mean,
that comment right there, the bar is lower than low. Yeah. And Coach Huey is a good dude. Okay? That does not make him a successful coach. If they don't get to the tournament this season, that'll be 8 years of no trip to the NCAA tournament. What are they waiting on? What's the rationale behind it? Averaging 12 wins a year and 17 losses. That's okay. I don't get that. What is that? What, James?
It just shows that the administration doesn't really care about women's basketball here at Houston.
Andy?
Yeah, like I said, outside of football, outside of men's basketball, the bar completely falls apart. And it's not just for women's basketball, it's for a lot of the other sports too. Now, obviously, they've had a lot of success with swimming and track and those programs, but softball's had a couple of seasons. I know they had a good year before the pandemic, had a bit of a rough stretch. Baseball's kind of hit a funk, so it'll be interesting to see what they do this season. But it's not just for women's basketball. It's kind of outside of those top 2 programs. It's kind of everything else is honestly kind of like an afterthought. And
let me read this comment. It's on the screen now. Got to do a better job of this because the audio version for podcast purposes, you're not looking at it. You don't know what's on the screen. But my condolences for the women's basketball program once the Big 12 transition comes. And that's a tearful laughing emoji.
What are the records? What's their record this season?
They are 12-12 overall, and what are they in conference? They're under 500 in conference.
So
5 and 7 maybe.
2 winning seasons out of 8. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at 6 wins, 6 wins. Okay, you turning the program around. 6 wins, 6 wins. 12 wins, 20 wins. Okay. Maybe 15, 12, 17, now 12.
And after that,
5 and 7 in conference.
5 and 7. So, yeah, after that 20-win season, I think he got his first contract extension. And key players left the program.
Wow. What was it? Him? I don't know.
We don't really know, but Jasmine Harris I think she had issues off the court as well.
Okay.
But she was picked to the all conference first team,
and
that's with UConn was in the conference, I think, right? I think that was the last year of UConn, so she was that talented. But then she left the program. It was Jasmine Harris and Angela Harris. Angela Harris transferred to Kansas State for her last year of college ball. So,
and that season they lost their last 5 in a row. They finished 20-12, but they lost their last 5 in a row.
Wow.
Yep. And their wins it wasn't a tough schedule to get those 20 wins because I don't believe they were even on the bubble for the tournament, despite the 20 wins. So, and this point is legit. Oh, and also to the win last night over East Carolina, the announced attendance was 320, something like that, 320, 312, 330, whatever, something like that, in the 300s.
And when does Houston go to the Big 12?
23. So you got one more season, this final season, the 2022-23 season, and then hopefully July 1st, 2023.
Okay, so I'm not a component. I'm not a proponent for calling for anybody's job. I'm not. However, what I will say is this. If you want to do it, this is the season because you will want to give that coach a year.
Yes. Say it again.
To establish themselves going into the Big 12.
Say it again. Because while you say that, I'm going to put this comment up from King Jaja or King Haha. President needs to give Sidney Carter a blank check from A&M to save the program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I covered A&M when Sidney played at A&M. That was the year, Andy. I won't do it again. When I flew back and forth, when men's Final Four was here in Houston and women's was in Indianapolis, and the Aggies won in 2011 for the championship. I was there to see the Aggies win the championship, and Sidney Carter and Sidney Colson were on that squad. And I'm not sure if Sidney Carter had enough coaching experience to lead a program yet, but even if she's not, and I'm kind of curious if, since this is Gary Blair's last year as a head coach, he's going to step down. So I'm kind of curious to see if Sidney would stay on the staff of whoever the next coach is at A&M or look to go elsewhere. So that'd be kind of interesting there. But trust me when I say this to everybody watching, listening, my guys here, this job is in demand. The UH women's basketball job is in demand, has been in demand, will continue being in demand, probably even more so now because of the move to the Big 12. The talent in this city, the area, the state, the facilities are pretty legit compared to other women's basketball programs, even some, Andy, Power 5 programs. They're on par with them. But the results aren't there. So I used to get texts from coaches. When are they going to make a change? Man, is the job open? I'll take the job. I can turn it around. I used to get that, go to Final Four every year. What are they doing in Houston? They're going to open it up? Man, I don't know. I wish they would, because the goal is to get to the NCAA tournament. That's the goal. I think. If it's not, then just keep doing what you're doing, And James, Andy, Will, y'all know. All of us know. King knows, D-Skills knows. Women's athletics, they're not money makers, okay? Profit makers, say profit. But some money is better than no money.
Yeah.
And if you get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in Fertitta Center to watch women's basketball in the Big 12, that's a start of putting, some success and some funds back in the program, because those fans they'll buy concessions, they'll buy some merch, gear, all those things. And if you're winning too, then maybe that 4,000 becomes 5,000. And 5,000 inside Fertitta Center for a women's basketball game, the place will be rocking. There are girls' high school games that have larger crowds than UH. Well, hell, all college teams, pretty much, women's college teams in town. High school games.
Wow.
I mean, what are they averaging? Like between 300 to 500, something like that?
Yeah, basically. 500 is probably a stretch, but the average, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's mostly parents of student athletes. Sometimes schools that they give tickets to. Sometimes opposing fans. I remember, and again, this was during COVID, but I mean, it was a good amount of USF fans that had traveled for that game when Houston beat USF last season.
There you go. UH is going to have to start selling merch for opponents next season to make money. They have to open up their eyes and minds to different revenue streams, revenue ideas, and they need to reach out to advertising here, other outlets that are just the old outlets, Paul Samajama, other outlets that cover UH athletics. We have audiences too. Reach us also. Y'all got budgets, contact us. But go ahead.
And Kris, could I add? Just
yes.
I don't remember when, but we talked about how we haven't seen a single women's media basketball availability all year. Like that's one easy way to change. Like the media is not even getting informed, like you said, about it. So it's hard to promote the program when the media can't tell you anything about it. So that's one of the first steps that needs to change.
And there's a great comment right here. They're making the Jordan brand look bad. That's I don't know if any program has had the Jordan brand taken from them once they got it. But 5-7 in conference, 500 records, no trips to the tournament, which means no chances in March to see the Jordan brand logo on national stage. So what's the return on investment for the Jordan brand and UH women's basketball? Can't be very good right now. So just thoughts to ponder there. And regarding Sydney Carter as head coach, I'm not sure she's ready to be head coach. Let me see if I can reach out to her and see what her thought process is about being a head coach. But I'm starting to get contacted again. Yo, man, let me know if the job becomes open. I mean, from across the country, okay? Because of the impending move to the Big 12. Folks want this job. But let's shift gears these final few minutes. Will.
Yes, sir.
You got Jared Allen and Darius Garland from the Cavs representing in the NBA All-Star. Thoughts on that?
Expected. Took Jared Allen a couple injury replacements to get there. But Adam Silver had some media availability this week, and he gave much kudos to the Cavs as far as building a super team the right way was one of his comments. They had a rosy outlook to the team. And he just gave them, talked about how when the game was awarded, you'd like to have some representation and a team that's doing well at the break, leading into that All-Star game in that city. And Cleveland's doing that. So, but Darius Garland, I mean, he's letting the world know, and I think this weekend will be an extension of that, or more of that, letting the basketball world know that he's arrived. And I must admit, I was one that when he was drafted at 5, like, come on, man, it's 6'1" point guard. We just drafted a 6'1" point guard last year. What, Kobe Altman? What are you doing? But I stand corrected. Kobe Altman, he's doing it.
Andy and James, how much, if at all, of the All-Star festivities are y'all going to watch?
Ooh. I like Saturday night, probably the 3-point contest and the dunk contest, especially Jalen Green's going to be in the dunk contest, so that'll be something probably worth checking out from a local perspective, but I'm not sure so much about the All-Star game.
James?
Yeah, similar to Andy, I'm more of a Saturday night guy just because the All-Star game is just an offensive game, no defense at all. I might tune in for a little bit, but I'm more inclined to see what happens Saturday night in the dunk contest, especially.
I'm kind of like y'all. I'm not going to watch the game on Sunday. Because Jalen Green is in the dunk contest, and I think he, Alperen Şengün, and Jayshawn Tate are participating in the Rising Stars Challenge tomorrow. But the NBA does no favors for some of the players. There should not be games today. Should not be games scheduled today, because the Rockets play the Clippers tonight
in Los Angeles, correct?
In LA, 9:30 tip-off Houston time.
And they have to turn around and
they got to go
Cleveland.
from LA to Cleveland to participate tomorrow night in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Losing, is Cleveland in Central Time or East Coast time?
Eastern.
Oh, so they're losing 3 hours going back to Cleveland.
And then Jalen's got to be in the dunk contest on Saturday. So just don't have games on Thursday. Have all the games Wednesday, make Thursday a travel day, and then you arrive for the event on Friday. But the league has like 6 or 7 games scheduled today, maybe 5 to 7. That's ridiculous. And then you talk about, well, we're concerned about the health of the players. Doesn't look like it. And some teams are done. They played yesterday, so they already started.
Cleveland played Tuesday.
See, so you already have an unfair advantage. Detroit played last night. They're done until next Wednesday or Thursday. But the Rockets and the Clippers are playing tonight. Might be the last game on the schedule before the All-Star break.
It is.
Come on.
5 games tonight.
5. Those 5 should have been last night. All right, we're gonna wind it down. Okay. One more question. Will's guy, Gene Smith, kind of poured some cold water on the Big Ten, the Alliance, which is Big Ten, Pac-12, ACC, reducing from 9 conference games to 8. Pac-12 was kind of hoping for that because one less conference game, they could schedule a Big Ten opponent or another opponent. They could sell it for TV contract. But my thought is, my question to y'all: should the Big 12 be concerned or do something more to be a part of something? So they got excluded from the Alliance with the Big Ten, ACC, and the Pac-12. Go ahead, Will. You knew where I'm going because I just.
Yeah, they could have the Big Ten spot in the Alliance because Gene Smith pretty much put that fire out yesterday. It was nice to talk, but he's not giving up a 9th conference game, to play USC or UCLA.
I mean, and one of his comments was, and it's true, they need us more than we need them.
Yeah.
no doubt there. So where does the Big 12 fit into this, James, if at all? Does the Big 12 fit into any conference alliances for the benefit of the conference?
I mean, like Will said, unless they can get into that alliance, I don't really see anything. The SEC doesn't need them. And then outside of that, you're not gaining much if you team up with the American or Mountain West. There's not really another conference that you can team up with and actually strengthen yourself.
Is that a bad thing? Could that be a problem in future years? Or just let the Pac-12 kind of twist in the wind, because they still believe, and new commissioner still believes that their next TV deal, media rights deal is going to be massive, it's going to be a huge success. Well, what if it's not? The ACC is locked into a deal till 2035. Why they agreed to that, I have no idea. But Big Ten, SEC are the 2, top tier conferences. Is it possible that the Big 12 could maintain third tier status, third conference status, and squeeze out the Pac-12? Andy?
Is it possible? I guess you can never say nothing's impossible, but I wanted to go back to you said the point about the Big 12 and should they consider an alliance. And honestly, kind of like James said, I don't see that much of a benefit for the Big 12, especially once Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF join. Just look at it if they do some sort of alliance with the Pac-12. I mean, the majority of the schools are either going to be in Texas, or you're even adding UCF. It's on the other side of the coast. Where you're going to do? I don't think it'll benefit UCF to have to travel to California, or even one of the other schools in the Mountain West time zone just to get one extra game during the season that may or may not beef up your a certain team's resume by the end of the season. At the end, especially since they didn't even want to include the Big 12 at the beginning, I say honestly, they should just stick it out. make them be the ones that if they come knocking, then try to use it for leverage. But honestly, I don't think it'll benefit the Big 12 significantly where they have to go chase it up. Now, if the Big Ten or the SEC were involved, that's different. But just the Pac-12 and even honestly, even the ACC, outside of Clemson, and I don't see much benefit to it.
Agreed, and we'll wrap it up there because I want to give myself a chance to head over to Fertitta Center as well for tonight's 8 p.m. game between UH men's basketball and UCF. Even though the game is being seen broadcast on ESPN2. But first to James, go to him, close it out before the music gets deafening up there for Fertitta Center. How can folks find you on social media, James?
Yeah, like always, you can follow me on Twitter at JDM2186, and then all my work regarding anything UH coverage related is at theDailyCougar.com.
Appreciate it, James. I'll see you in a bit. Andy, how can folks find you, sir?
On Twitter, they can find me on Yanez_5, and James leaving through a wrench in our camera, but they can find me on Twitter at Yanez_5. Also, be sure to check out the podcast Slam and Jam on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. If they're interested in hearing more specifics regarding UH athletics, we mentioned we touched on the recent 2-game losing streak for the men's basketball team. Talked a little bit about this upcoming matchup with UCF and kind of these opponents going forward. We talked about the women's basketball team who, hey, maybe they hurt us because they did a completely 180 on offense last night, shooting over 50% from the field and assisting on 20 of their 27 made baskets. It was a good offensive performance. And then we also touched a little bit more about Dana Holgerson's a reported contract extension to stay in Houston.
Mr. Willie Gibson, how can folks find you on social media, sir?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WillGibson7, Facebook Will Knows Facebook page, and those are the opportunities to find me.
And I'm KG Kris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Find me on Twitter at TheHEHR Review, Houston Roundball Review, on Instagram and YouTube. Rocket fans, I'll be having another Let's Talk Houston Rockets Friday tomorrow, February 18th at 7 p.m. Central Time. And I think the Rising Stars game starts at 8, whatever. Try to be done before that game if y'all want to watch it. But yes, I'm on Twitter, the HR Review, Houston Roundball Review on Instagram and YouTube, HoustonRoundballReview.com, TheHRR.com. Been around since 1994. Local name, global perspective. And fellas, we'll touch base for our next show in a few days. And also, folks, if you don't follow us, follow the show's Twitter account. Follow us at Folks Talk Sports on Twitter for updates on our next show, clips, all good things like that. If we expand that, if you want to sponsor us like Steve Saxenian and the Saxenian family is doing currently, please reach out to us on any of our Twitter handles because we do want to grow and have plans and ideas going forward for the rest of 2022 and in the future. As you see, we can do shows from events. James is at Fertitta Center.
Speak it to existence.
So, yeah, speak it to existence, make it happen. So contact us, and we will see you next week. Everybody, take care.